यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यशोदा जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवर धारी जय गोपी जन जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवर धारी जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा माधव श्री राधे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय राधा दामोदर राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय जय गौरनिथाय 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 जय गौरनिथाय जय गौरनिथाय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभु जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय श्री श्री राधा माधव भगवान की जय श्री श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते तमाल कृष्ण गोस्वामी इति नाम्ने नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णापृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशान्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तविंद पंचकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यो च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 So this morning's class is on Canto 4, Chapter 13, texts 2 and 3, but we'll recite text 3, see on the board. Please repeat after me. Manye Maha Bhagavatam Naradam Deva Darshanam Yena Praktaha Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidhir Hare Manye Maha Bhagavatam Manye Maha Bhagavatam Naradam Deva Darshanam Naradam Deva Darshanam Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidhir Hare Paricharya Vidhir Hare Manye Mahabhagavatam Naradam Deva Darshanam Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidhir Hare Manye Mahabhagavatam Naradam Deva Darshanam Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidhir Hare. Naradam Devadarsanam Yena Prokta Priya Yoga Paricharya Vidirhare Manye Mahabhagavatam Naradam Devadarshanam Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidirhare Manye Mahabhagavatam Naradam Devadarshanam Yena Prokta Vidiryoga Paricharya Vidirhare Manye Mahabhagavatam Narada Devadarshanam Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidirhare. Thank you. Please repeat. Manye, I think, Mahabhagavatam, the greatest of all devotees. Naradam, the sage Narad. Deva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Darshanam, who met. Yena, by whom. Proktaha, spoken. Kriya Yoga, devotional service. Paricharya, for rendering service. Vidhi, the procedure. Hare, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narad is the greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of a devotional service and has directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So please repeat. Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narad is the greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of devotional service and has directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Report. There are two different ways of approaching the Supreme Lord. One is called Bhagavad Marg, or the way of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the other is called Pancharatrika Vidhi. Pancharatrika Vidhi is the method of temple worship. And Bhagavata Vidhi, Bhagavata Marg, is the system of the 9 processes which begin with hearing and chanting. The Krishna consciousness movement, Krishna conscious movement, accepts both processes simultaneously and thus enables one to make steady progress on the path of self-realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Pancharatrika procedure was first introduced by the great sage Narad, as referred to here by Vidura. So, and I was supposed to read the other verse too. I'll just read the Sanskrit and the translation. That this is verse 2, text 2. Vidur uvacha kete prachetaso nama kashyap patyani suvrata kashyan vavaye prakhyata putra va satram asata. Translation is, Vidur inquired from Maitreya, O greatly advanced devotee, who were the Prachitas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were they? And where did they perform the great sacrifices? I repeat, Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O greatly, I'm repeating. O greatly advanced devotee, who were the Prachitas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were they? And where did they perform the great sacrifices? In a very short purport, the great Narad singing in the previous chapter of 3 verses in the sacrificial arena of the Prachitas gave another impetus to Vidura to ask further questions. So, in these 2 verses, the first one that I have just read is basically regarding the Prachitas. Who were they? And Vidura asks several questions regarding them. Who were they? Which family did they belong to? Whose sons were they? And where did they perform their austerity, their tapasya? This in verse 2 and verse 3, and Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narad is the greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of devotional service and has directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I will start with, in these 2 verses, 3 great personalities are mentioned. They are Mahabhagavatas, Vidura, Maitreya, and Narad Muni. These are great devotees, wonderful devotees, pure devotees of the Lord. And actually, Narad Muni is one of the Mahajanas, 12 Mahajanas. So they are very great Mahatmas too. And there's a conversation between Narad and Maitreya Muni. In verse 2, Narad, Vidura is inquiring about Prachitas. In verse 3, Vidura is glorifying Sri Naradji. It is so important that when we know there are good qualities, of course, all devotees should have good qualities. Gradually, they should imbibe those qualities. We should be glorifying devotees too for their service, for their divine qualities. So here you can see Vidura is glorifying Narad Muni. And he says he's the greatest of all the devotees. And Naradji is one of the very unique devotee. He can travel to the spiritual world. He can travel down here in material world, anywhere. He's endowed with and blessed by the Supreme Lord. And with his own will, he can travel to any places. We don't find any other devotee like that. So that's a very unique devotee, Sri Naradji. And of course, and the other thing he's glorifying is he compiled this Pancharatrika vidhi of temple worship, deity worship, which is compiled by Sri Narada, and we are using this in our temple worship. ISKCON is using both the vidhis, as mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, the Bhagavad Vidhi, the 9 processes of devotional service according to Srimad Bhagavatam, and Pancharatrika Vidhi given by Sri Narada. So both are simultaneously used in all ISKCON temples. And he also mentioned in this translation that he directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are very few devotees who directly met Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada is one of them. So these were the qualities are highlighted by Vidura in this verse. So let's go back to text 2, in which Vidura inquired about the Prachitas, and I was trying to find out who they were, and I managed to find a few things, and I'll need your help if you need you know more about this Prachitas. Please share in this discussion. Firstly, these Prachitas, they are children of King Prachinabarhi and Queen Shatadruti. Queen Shatadruti. Prachinabarhi and Shatadruti had 10 children, and they call them Prachitas. All of them were called Prachitas, and they had wonderful qualities. And when they grew up, the king ordered them to get married and beget children because they had to populate the world. This, I think, happened in Satyuga. So these 10 children of King Prachinavarhi started looking for a place, a nice, good place to do tapasya first, before they got married and got children. The first thing they had to do tapasya. So they were looking in the forest and then came to a nice lake, beautiful lake, which was very peaceful and calm. They thought this is the best place, very nice, peaceful to do our austerity. So they didn't, sit on the land or under a tree to do tapasya. What did they do? They went into the water of the lake, all of them. So, and it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam in further chapters that they did this tapasya for 10,000 years. 10,000 years in the water of that peaceful lake. And while they were doing tapasya, Narad Muni went past, and he saw. Or before Narad Muni went to these 10 Prachitas, he went to the king and advised him about devotional service. The king was still very busy with material things, looking after the kingdom, and the people in his kingdom and so on. But he was not very much into devotional service. So Narad Muni advised him the purpose of human life and so forth. And then after that, he was going through the forest and he saw the 10 children of the king doing tapasya in the water. And I missed one point. While these 10 children were looking for a place to do tapasya, they came to the lake, and they saw Lord Shiva coming out of that lake. And then Lord Shiva spoke to these 10 young men and told them about Lord Krishna and the importance of human life and how to perform devotional service. So kind of Lord Shiva became their spiritual master. So he instructed them how to do devotional service and what mantras to chant, and he advised them to go and do tapasya in the water. So they executed the orders of Lord Shiva, and they spent 10,000 years doing tapasya. While they were doing that, then Naradaji went to the king, as I have already spoken, advising him to also do the same thing, teaching him the goal of human form of life and how to achieve it, worshipping the Supreme Lord. Now, because I was running short of time, I couldn't read further to find what happened. I was trying to find what happened next. It was getting late for me, so I stopped there. So I thought some of you might know this story. You have read Bhagavata. So anyone has any idea what happened? Prabhu? Mhm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that much. Yeah. So it's something for us to read about if you are interested. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, yeah. Chapter 13, further on, you will be able to find out what happened with these 10 young men. Did they get married and begot children, or did Naraji went there and and told them the goal of life, and they became brahmacharis and left the kingdom and started preaching the glories of the Lord? So I'm not sure because I didn't read further. So that much I can share with you about the Prachitas. So we'll move on. As I mentioned, there were three great personalities mentioned in this verse: Vidura, Maitreya, and Sri Naradaji. So I was trying to find out who these great personalities were, and I'll share whatever I could find out. One is, we'll start with Maitreya Muni, Maitreya Rishi. Maitreya Rishi, Guru's name is Prashar Muni. Prashar Muni is the father of Ved Vyas, who wrote all the Vedas and all the scriptures. So Prashar Muni was his guru, Maitreya Muni. And then one day he came to know that Duryodhan did a lot of injustice to the Pandavas, and somehow or other he tried to kill them. So he thought he'll go and advise Duryodhana to not to do such notorious things and try to compromise live peacefully and give share of the kingdom to the Pandavas. So he went to Hastinapur and shared his advice with him. But Duryodhana totally rejected his ideas, and he said he's not going to do that. Maitra Rishi, he was a powerful Rishi, so he cursed Duryodhana, and he said, within 14 years, you will lose this kingdom to the Pandavas. We'll lose everything, and Bhim is going to break your thigh with his mace. This is my curse. So Duryodhana was cursed by Maitra, and Maitra left the place. And Maitreya is also the spiritual master of Vidura. As you know, Vidura also tried to advise Duryodhana not to do such injustice to the Pandavas, because Vidura was a righteous personality. But Duryodhana again rejected his ideas and asked his uncle Vidura to just leave the palace and go out. It happened just before the war. So Vidura left the palace. He didn't want to stay there. And he went on pilgrimage, travel all over the world to pilgrimage sites. And somewhere during his travel, he met Maitreya Muni. And Maitreya Muni advised him about devotional service, about glories of the Lord, shared, and then initiated him as his disciple. So Maitreya Rishi is the spiritual master of Vidura. And it is also mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam that once Maitreya Rishi also face to face met Lord Sri Krishna. This happened during Mahabharata time when Lord Krishna was there. So, and Vidur was also there in the presence of Lord Krishna. So that much I can share about Maitreya Muni. His guru is Prashar Muni, and Prashar Muni is the father of Vyasadeva. And he's also the guru of Vidura. So now, since Vidura is also mentioned in this chapter, I'll share something about Vidura, his life. Vidura is very important personality in Mahabharata, as you know. He's half brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. The father is the same, but the mothers are different. The father of Dhritarashtra, King Pandu, and Vidura is the same, Vyasadeva. But the mothers are different. So that's why they are half brothers. And actually, Vidura is the son of a maid servant, not one of the queens. There were two queens, Ambika and Ambalika, and Vidura was not of royal blood, but son of maid servant. That's why he wasn't given the title of king, like Dhritarashtra was a king, Pandu was a king, but not Vidura. But he was very intelligent. Bhishma Dev made him the advisor, the minister of Dhritarashtra and Pandu at that time. And Vidura was Yamraj. Lord of the Death. In Yamlok, he was the Yamaraj. And one day, he was cursed by a rishi named Mandavi. Mandavi rishi cursed him because he did a little injustice in his judgment. So he was cursed by Mandavi rishi to go down to this planet Earth and be born as a son of a maid servant. So he had to come down. So Narad Muni was born as a maid servant's son, but he was very lucky. This curse turned into benedictions. Any devotee curse actually turn into benediction, something good for him. So when he came down to this, when he was born as a son of a maid servant, they were very lucky to have association of Mahabhagavatas, the devotees. In India, Chaturmasya, during the rainy season, the sadhus get together in one place because they can't travel because of flooding and all that. So they find a good place and they stay there for at least 4 months. And during that period, they do Hari Katha, Hari Bhajan, Bhagavatam and Kirtan and so on. So Narad Muni was a little boy at that time, and his mother used to serve these sadhus and get their association, and sadhu seva. And they were very lucky in this way. So he used to sit there and hear Hari Katha, and the sadhus very much like this little Narad. I don't know whether he had that name at that time or not, Narad, but he was very lucky. They also used to eat the remnants of prasadam left by the sadhus. So this is another very powerful thing for our devotional service, eating Mahaprasadam. When Guru Maharajs come, everyone try their best to get something from their plate. It's a tradition in ISKCON now. So you are lucky to get those Mahaprasad. So they used to get that. But unfortunately, they had to leave the place. After 4 months, the sadhus don't stay at one place for a long time. This was quite long, 4 months, because of the seasons. So the sadhus moved on, and Narad Muni was staying with his mother alone. And then one day, his mother went to care for the cow, and she was bitten by a snake. And after that, she died. Narada was a little boy, but he had a lot of knowledge. He gained a lot of knowledge from these sadhus. And then he applied that knowledge in his life. So, what did he do? I'm talking about Narad now, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. So, what did he do after that? When mom died, he did the funeral rites, and then he moved from the place. He went to forest. He sometimes went to the villages and cities. And then finally, he found a nice forest, and there he decided to do some meditation because he was taught by those sadhus to do meditation, how to do it. So he found a nice place, a beautiful forest, and he started doing meditation. Very seriously, he was very serious about his devotional service. And not long before, he could visualize, he could vision Paramatma in his heart, Lord Vishnu. He could see. And he was he started crying in ecstasy when he saw Lord Vishnu in his heart. But that vision didn't last for a long time. And soon it disappeared. The Lord disappeared. Narad Muni came to his senses again, and then he thought about the Lord. He was in bliss. He tried again to meditate to get the vision of the Lord again. But he kept trying and trying, but he couldn't do it. The Lord knew he was trying to see him again, but then there was a divine voice telling him what to do and why he cannot see him. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:621 to 23. This is what actually the Lord said. Oh Narad, I regret that during this lifetime you won't see me again. You won't see me anymore. You are not free from all material desires yet. You saw me once, and this will increase your desire to see me. By service of the absolute truth, you will attain him. You will attain firm and fixed intelligence in me. Then you can become my associate in the spiritual world. So the Lord told him, in this life you won't see him again, but because you saw him, he saw him once in his heart. So this will increase his desire to see him again and perform devotional service. Try to see the Lord again. So this is an impetus for him to continue his vigorous devotional service. So what happened then? So Naraji is saying in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:625 to 26, Naraji, I quote, thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, just like we do Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat recitation. So Naraji was doing similarly. Such chanting and remembering of the pastimes of the Lord, I traveled over the earth fully satisfied, being humble and non-envious. This is what, unquote, this is what Naraji said. So Naraji was chanting, glorifying the Lord, and doing this kind of devotional service. And in due course of time, Naraji had to leave this body. He died. And in his next life, he was born from the mind of Lord Brahma. That's why he's called Lord Brahma's son. And he had a spiritual body, no more material body. So Narad's body was his spiritual body after that. And he was given benediction and he was empowered by the Lord. He could travel anywhere on his free will, anywhere, spiritual world, material world, and glorifying the Lord and helping people to do devotional service. While traveling, he incessantly chanted the holy names of Krishna and glorified his wonderful pastimes to whomever he met on the way. And you all know that Naradji had wonderful disciples. He made wonderful disciples. Can you tell me some of the disciples of Narad Muni? Great. Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, yes. anymore. And in the Ramayana, the author of Ramayana, Valmiki, Naradaji's disciple. He was Naradaji's disciple, Valmiki Muni, Rishi. And there are several others. I'm not aware. I didn't do much research. So these are the great disciples of Naradaji. Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Valmiki Muni. He was a dacoit in his life, and then when he came to association with the Naradaji, after his instruction, following his instructions, he became Valmiki Muni, and he wrote the first Ramayana, pastimes of the Lord Ramchandra. So these are some short descriptions of the life of these great personalities, and I have shared you about Maitreya Rishi, Vidura, and Naradaji's life. So going back to the purport, Naradaji compiled this Pancharatrika Vidhi, which we are following in worshipping our wonderful deities here and throughout ISKCON temple. That's one of the method of approaching the Supreme Lord. And the other one is Bhagavad Vidhi. We are also following that, the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Samaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma, Nivedanam. We are following these 2 simultaneously in our temples, in our lives too. So, so I'll stop here, and I'll just, in conclusion, I'll mention some of the things that we should learn from this katha. One thing that we are advised by Srila Prabhupada is to visit the holy dham or the tirth, or do pilgrimage. The most important thing when we do pilgrimage is, which is happening now in Kartika. Thousands and thousands of devotees are in Vrindavan and Mayapur now with their Maharajas, Guru Maharaj. And that's what we should be doing while we go on pilgrimage. Not sightseeing and just visiting temple and that's all. But we should look for sadhu sangha, look for some great devotees there and hear from them and serve them. Shravanam Kirtanam. So Vidur is a very good example. When he visited the holy places, he was looking for sadhus, great sadhus, so that he can associate with them and serve them. And he met Maitreya Rishi, who became his spiritual master. So this is what we should be doing when we visit dhams. He took association of sadhus and heard Hari Katha from them. So that's one point. When Narad Muni was a young boy, when he was here on this planet, he did Vaishnava Seva. He served the sadhus. He had their association, hearing Krishna Katha and doing devotional service according to their advice. He also had remnants of prasadam from them. So this is another very powerful tool that will help us in our devotional service, making spiritual progress. And we are advised to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees to make steady spiritual progress in our life. All of these devotees like Prahlad, Dhruva Maharaj, Valmiki, they have great Guru Nishtha. We should have the same thing. They followed their spiritual master with strong determination. Guru Nishtha is so important. Whatever Guru asks you to do, their instructions, maybe general or special instructions given to you, take that as our heart and soul, and we should work on that. And that's how we'll make speedy progress in our spiritual life. So Guru Nishtha. Excuse me. Finally, I would like to say Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed this. In one of the verses, he says, Prabhu kahe Vaishnav Seva Naam Sankirtan, Vaishnav Seva Naam Sankirtan, Dui kare Shighra Pave Sri Krishna Charan. So two things Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised for quickly achieving our spiritual goal, and that is Vaishnava Seva and Nam Sankirtan, which Narad Muni has shown us with his example, and all the devotees, great devotees we have learned. All right, so I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Any comments? No comments? Did I take a long time? Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai. Hare Krishna. Oh yeah, I need it. Sorry, thank you. Thank you.